Have you ever looked at a man sitting in the highest seat of authority and asked yourself, how on earth did that person get there? You've looked at your boss, your CEO, or the leaders on the world stage and felt a cold pit in your stomach. You see individuals who appear to the intelligent world as thoroughly incompetent. You see people who couldn't handle the basic technical tasks you master every day, yet they rise to the highest seats of authority while the capable people remain stuck in the shadows, ignored and underpaid. It feels like a glitch. It feels like the world has lost its mind. You watch a billionaire build an empire on debt and bravado, or a politician dominate the news cycle through pure chaos, and you tell yourself that true merit will eventually win. That is the lie that keeps you poor. The harshest truth about leadership is that the world isn't looking for a genius, it's looking for a master of appearances. While you are busy being smart, the people ruling you are busy being certain. They didn't get there by mistake. They got there because they understood a dark logic that you are too polite to admit exists. In the 16th century, Machiavelli didn't write about how leaders should behave in a perfect world. He wrote about how the fools actually conquer the real one. He understood that to the crowd, perception isn't just more important than reality. Perception is reality. Think about the capable employee. You see the complexity, you acknowledge the risks, and you speak with nuance. You think you're being thorough, but in the eyes of a hungry, terrified crowd, that intelligence looks like hesitation. It looks like weakness. It looks like you don't know what you're doing. Now look at the fool. This is the leader who offers absolute certainty where none exists. He makes sweeping promises he cannot keep and projects a confidence so total it borders on delusion. To the masses, that delusion looks like vision. That arrogance looks like leadership. They don't want the truth. They want to be told that everything will be fine by someone who looks like they believe it. Today, we are diving into the mind of the man who saw this coming 500 years ago, Niccolo Machiavelli. This isn't an ancient history lesson. This is a psychological autopsy of the world you live in right now. From the boardroom to the Oval Office, the uncomfortable truth is that being smart is exactly what keeps you from gaining power. Your nuance is your cage. Your logic is your leash. Your need to be correct is the reason you are still taking orders from people who aren't fit to carry your bags. Machiavelli didn't care about how rulers should behave. He focused on how power actually functions in the dirt. He understood that everyone sees what you appear to be, but almost no one experiences who you really are. If you can fake the appearance of greatness, the reality of your incompetence doesn't matter. Listen carefully. We are going to expose the paradox of the high-status fool. We are going to show you why appearing competent is 1,000 times more valuable than actually being competent. We are going to dismantle the myth of the good leader and show you why the world belongs to those who are bold enough to be wrong while everyone else is too afraid to be imperfect. If you have ever wondered how someone with half your brains became your boss, this isn't a history lesson. It's an intervention. And by the end of this 30-minute audit, you will finally understand the brutal mechanics of why the world belongs to the fools. You are currently a victim of your own intelligence. You've spent your whole life believing that the world is a meritocracy, that the smartest, most capable and most right person eventually gets the keys to the kingdom. You treat knowledge like a shield and logic like a sword. But look around. The people holding the real power, the ones sitting in the seats you want, are often the very people you laugh at behind their backs. You call them fools. You call them incompetent. You call them unqualified. But they have the power, and you have the frustration. Machiavelli realized something 5 centuries ago that you are still too principled to accept. In the arena of power, being right is a liability. Your obsession with being correct is exactly what makes you weak. While you are busy analyzing every detail, weighing every risk, and acknowledging every nuance, the fool next to you has already made a decision. He didn't make the right decision, he made a loud one. And in a world filled with terrified, uncertain people, the man who screams with absolute certainty will always be followed over the man who whispers the truth. Think about your daily life. You see it in every meeting. You see the expert, the person who actually knows how the machinery works, staying silent because they know how complex the problem is. They don't want to be wrong, so they hesitate. Then you see the high-status fool. He doesn't understand the technicalities. He doesn't see the risks. He stands up and offers a simple, sweeping solution that is physically impossible to execute. But he says it with such total, delusional confidence that the room shifts. The crowd doesn't see his ignorance. They see his vision. They don't see his stupidity. They see leadership. You think the world is looking for a solution. It isn't. The world is looking for a master of appearances. Your intelligence has become your cage. Because you are smart, you are self-aware, you see your own flaws, you know where your knowledge ends. This creates a gap in your delivery. A slight tremor of doubt that the vulgar crowd interprets as incompetence. The fool doesn't have this gap. He is too stupid to know he should be afraid. He possesses a supreme confidence that acts as a psychological hack on everyone around him. Evolution didn't design our brains to follow the person with the best data. It designed us to follow the person who looks like they know where they are going. You are playing a game with rules that don't exist. You think there's a board of directors or a universal justice that will eventually step in and say, actually, the smart person should be in charge. It's never coming. The final bosses of our world all understood the same dark logic. Perception is not just more important than reality. Perception is reality. If you can fake the appearance of greatness, the reality of your incompetence becomes irrelevant. Stop and look at the people you despise. They aren't glitches in the system. They are the masters of it. They have traded accuracy for authority. They realize that the masses are satisfied with appearances. If you look like a king, act like a king, and speak like a king, people will treat you like a king even if you have no idea how to rule. Meanwhile, you are standing in the corner with your facts and your merit, wondering why no one is listening. They aren't listening because you aren't offering them what they need. They don't want a lecture, they want a leader. They don't want to think, they want to feel safe. The fool provides that safety through the sheer force of his arrogance. He tells them exactly what they want to hear, with a straight face because he's too shallow to realize he's lying. This is the competence trap. Your need to be perfect is preventing you from being powerful. You are so afraid of being wrong that you have made yourself invisible. You have spent years sharpening your mind, but you've neglected the only tool that actually matters in a power struggle, the ability to project absolute certainty in an uncertain world. You resent the fool because deep down you know he's winning. You see him get the promotion. You see him get the attention. You see him dominate the conversation while you sit there, right and alone. This isn't a mistake of history. This is the fundamental mechanic of human nature that Machiavelli exposed. He knew that the man who tries to be good and honest in a world of wolves will inevitably be destroyed. To be good in the context of power means being predictable, and to be predictable is to be a servant. The fool is unpredictable. He is chaotic. He is bold enough to be wrong at the top of his lungs. And while the intelligent world is busy laughing at his mistakes, he is busy consolidating his influence. You have been trained to value the wrong things. You were told in school that the highest grade wins, but in the dirt of the real world, the highest energy wins. The loudest voice wins. The most certain lie wins. You are currently being ruled by people who aren't fit to carry your bags, simply because they understood one thing you didn't. Power doesn't belong to the most capable. It belongs to the one who can convince the most people that he is. Your nuance is your leash. Your logic is your cage. And until you learn to break that cage, you will continue to be a spectator in a world that was designed to be conquered. The audit of your life starts here. You have to stop being a student of the truth and start being a student of the game. You have to realize that your merit is a story you tell yourself to feel better about being stuck in the shadows. It's time to stop wondering how the fools got there and start realizing why you didn't. The world is waiting for someone to take charge. If you won't do it because you're too busy being correct, don't be surprised when a fool steps up and does it for you. The harshest truth about power structures is that they are not designed to succeed. They are designed to survive. And nothing survives like a group of fools who have agreed to protect each other's secrets. Machiavelli understood that a weak leader cannot afford to hire a strong subordinate. If your boss is an incompetent fool, the last thing he wants is a brilliant expert like you standing next to him. Your brilliance makes his stupidity look worse. Your efficiency makes his laziness look like a crime. So he doesn't promote you, he bypasses you. He looks for someone even dumber than he is. He looks for a mirror, someone who will reflect his ego, laugh at his jokes and never ever ask a question that requires a real answer. This creates a downward spiral of incompetence. The fool at the top hires a fool below him, who then hires a fool below him. Before you know it, the entire organization is a fortress of stupidity, specifically designed to keep people like you at the bottom. Think about the team player lie. You've been told that being a team player means working hard for the collective goal. In a world of Machiavellian fools, team player is code for someone who won't outshine the boss. Every time you solve a problem that your superior couldn't even identify, you think you're winning points. You're not. You are creating resentment. You are making him feel small. And a small man with a big title is the most dangerous enemy you will ever have. He will use his power to bury your career, not because you did a bad job, but because you did a too good job. You are stuck in this loop because you still believe that results matter. You think that if the company fails, or the department fails, or the country fails, the people in charge will be fired, and you will be called up to fix it. They won't be fired. They will be reassigned. They will be given a golden parachute. They will fail upward while you are left to pick up the pieces. The fool doesn't care if the ship sinks, as long as he owns the only lifeboat. He isn't playing the game of productivity. He is playing the game of proximity. He knows that being close to the source of power is more valuable than being the source of value. Look at your own life. How many times have you watched a project fail because of a decision you knew was wrong? You spoke up. You pointed out the flaws. You were the smartest person in the room. And what happened? You were labeled difficult. You were told you weren't a culture fit. Meanwhile, the person who nodded their head and agreed with the fool's disastrous plan got the bonus. This is homophily, the biological urge for the weak to associate with the weak. Incompetent leaders create islands of stupidity where they are safe from the truth. They don't want your solutions. Solutions require change. Solutions require effort.
Endpoint?
Solutions
Yes,
expose
please.
the fact that the previous way of doing things was wrong. The fool would rather let the entire building burn down than admit he didn't know where the fire extinguisher was. You are currently being gaslit by a system that rewards confidence over competence. You see people speak in absolute visionary terms about things they don't understand. They use buzzwords to hide their lack of depth. They talk about synergy, innovation, and disruption while the actual work is falling apart. And because most people are terrified of looking stupid, they nod along. They follow the loudest voice because they think the noise is a sign of a plan. Machiavelli was right. The vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances. If you look like you know what you're doing, you can be wrong 90% of the time and still keep your job. But if you look like you're unsure, if you pause to think, if you acknowledge uncertainty, if you act like an actual intelligent human being, you are finished. The world doesn't have the patience for your nuance. It wants a strong man, even if that strong man is an idiot walking off a cliff. Stop trying to save the organization. Stop trying to fix the fool. You are a doctor trying to treat a patient who is addicted to the poison. The incompetence is not an accident. It is the immune system of the hierarchy. It is there to keep the elite in place and the capable in the dirt. You keep looping through the same outcomes because you keep trying to be useful to people who only value loyalty. You think your hard work is your leverage. It isn't. Your hard work is their safety net. They use your competence to cover their tracks. They let you do the heavy lifting so they have the energy to play the political games that keep them above you. You are the engine, but they are the ones with their hands on the wheel, and they are driving you into a wall. Ask yourself, if you are truly as smart as you think you are, why are you still working for someone you don't respect? The harsh truth is that you have become a high IQ servant. You have used your intelligence to make yourself the perfect tool for an incompetent master. You have made it so easy for the fool to rule that he never has to improve. You are the reason he is successful. Your ethics and your diligence are the very things funding his lifestyle, while you struggle to pay your bills. We are pulling back the curtain on the social simulation. You've been told that the cream rises to the top. It doesn't. In a stagnant pond, the scum rises to the top. The cream is too heavy. It stays at the bottom and does the actual work. If you want to rise, you have to stop being heavy with facts and start being light with appearances. You have to learn the language of the fool, not because you want to be him, but because you need to know how to bypass him. The pressure is building. You are starting to see that your merit is a myth designed to keep you obedient. You are starting to realize that the person sitting in the king's seat isn't a genius you haven't understood yet. He is a predator who understands human weakness better than you understand your own job. Don't look for fairness in a Machiavellian world. There is no referee, there is only the law of the pack. And currently, the pack is led by the person who was bold enough to lie while you were too busy double-checking your data. Pay attention. We are moving deeper into the dark psychology of the crowd. We are going to show you why the people around you, your peers, your neighbors, your friends, actually prefer the fool over you. We are going to expose the hunger for certainty that makes the world a playground for the arrogant. You are currently a victim of a biological glitch you don't even know you have. You think people follow leaders because they are good or qualified. You think the public, the market, or your audience is looking for the most logical solution. You are dead wrong. The masses do not hunger for truth. They hunger for certainty. And in an unstable world, certainty is the exclusive currency of the high-status fool. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago when he observed that the vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances. He understood that the average person is terrified of the unknown. They are paralyzed by complexity. When a capable expert like you stands up and says, "This is a difficult situation with many variables," the crowd doesn't hear honesty, they hear weakness, they hear fear. Your intelligence makes you see the shades of gray, but the crowd only speaks in black and white. This is why the fool wins. He doesn't see the complexity because he isn't smart enough to grasp it. He offers a simple, absolute, and often delusional answer to a terrifyingly complex problem. He shouts, "I alone can fix it," or "This is the only way." He is wrong, but he is loud, and to a terrified crowd, a loud lie feels more like leadership than a quiet truth. You are losing because you are trying to convince people's brains while the fool is busy hijacking their nervous systems. Think about your daily life. Think about the visionary who dominates the news or the social circle. They don't have better data than you. They don't have a better track record. What they have is a lack of internal friction because they are fools. They don't have the self-awareness to doubt themselves. They don't have the cringe response that keeps you from making bold, embarrassing promises. Their stupidity acts as a psychological armor that makes them look like gods to a public that is desperate for a savior. You are being outplayed by the confidence illusion. Science calls this the Dunning-Kruger effect, but in the arena of power, it's a lethal weapon. The most incompetent people genuinely believe they are the most talented. Because they believe their own lie, they project a level of alpha certainty that your intelligent doubt can never match. You are fighting with a blunt knife called logic, while they are using a flamethrower called arrogance. Look at the populist trap. Why does a crowd follow a leader who is clearly lying to them? Because the lie feels better than the reality. The fool provides an out-group to blame. He provides a simple enemy. He provides a sacred narrative. He turns a complex economic crisis into a playground fight where we are the good guys and they are the bad guys. While you are trying to explain the global supply chain, the fool is winning the room by pointing a finger. He understands that the crowd doesn't want to be educated. They want to be vindicated. They want to feel like their failures aren't their fault. You've experienced this in your relationships and your career. You've been the one who pointed out the actual problem and you were hated for it. Why? Because the truth is a burden. The truth requires work. The truth requires people to admit they were wrong. The fool comes in and offers cognitive closure. He gives people an answer that lets them stop thinking. He gives them permission to be lazy. And the world will always love the person who makes life simple over the person who makes life right. This is the lethal reality of the Machiavellian prince. He knows that men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone can see what you appear to be, but almost no one can feel who you actually are. If you can master the aesthetic of power, the suits, the tone of voice, the unshakable eye contact, the fact that you have no idea what you're talking about becomes a minor detail. You are being ruled by aesthetic idiots who have learned that style is the only substance that the masses can actually digest. You keep waiting for the truth to come out. You think that when the fool's plan fails, the crowd will turn on him and come crawling back to you. They won't. They will just look for a newer, louder fool. The psychological need for closure is so strong that people would rather follow a confident failure into a ditch than stand in the middle of the road with a hesitant genius. You are currently being punished for your intellectual honesty. You think that by being fair and balanced, you are showing strength. In the eyes of the public, you are just showing that you aren't man enough to take a side. The fool doesn't have sides. He only has winning. He will change his mind tomorrow and act like he never said the opposite today. And the crowd will let him get away with it because they have the memory of a goldfish and the attention span of a child. They don't care about consistency. They care about momentum. You are standing still, waiting for the world to reward your reliability. The fool is moving, even if he's moving in the wrong direction, and the world is chasing him because movement looks like progress. You are being left behind because you are too heavy with your values. Examine the tribal leash. The fool knows that if he can make himself the symbol of a tribe, he is untouchable. Once he becomes one of us, his incompetence becomes a quirk, his lies become strategic, his failures become the enemy's fault. He has fused his identity with the group. You, the smart individual, refuse to join the tribe. You want to be objective. You want to be independent. That independence is why you have no shield. When the fool attacks you, the tribe cheers, not because you are wrong, but because you are other. Your intelligence has made you a foreigner in your own society. You are speaking a language of reason in a country that only understands emotion. The pressure is now shifting. You aren't just fighting a foolish boss anymore. You are fighting a foolish species. You are realizing that the world isn't a broken school that needs a better teacher. It's a dark theater where the best actor gets the standing ovation. If you want to survive, you have to stop being the scriptwriter and start being the lead role. You have to learn to project the certainty that you don't feel. You have to learn to speak in the absolute terms that your brain hates. You have to realize that until you can hack the psychology of the crowd, your brilliance is just a well-kept secret that will die with you. Don't look for validation from a public that is addicted to deception. The crowd doesn't want to be saved by you. They want to be entertained by the fool. If you want to take the wheel, you have to be willing to be the villain who is bold enough to lead them. The air is thin now. You are seeing the ugly truth of the human animal. We are moving into the zone of ethics, the part of the march where we look at why being good is the ultimate strategic error. We are going to show you why the fool is often more successful because he is unburdened by the conscience that is currently holding you hostage. Keep your eyes forward. The king is just a fool who never got caught, and the servant is just a genius who was too afraid to act. You are currently a prisoner of your own conscience. You've been taught that being good, honest, and fair are the keys to a successful life. You believe that if you follow the rules will protect you. You treat your integrity like a trophy, but in the brutal reality of a power struggle, that trophy is just a weight around your neck. The fool who sits in the office above you doesn't have this weight. He isn't good, and he isn't bad. He is simply unburdened. While you are busy worrying about the ethics of a decision, he is busy making it. Machiavelli's most dangerous insight was this: a man who tries to be good in a world of wolves will inevitably be destroyed. This is the moral handicap. Your intelligence has given you a complex sense of right and wrong, but that complexity is exactly what makes you predictable. And in the game of power, being predictable is a death sentence. The fool wins because he is willing to use tools that you have outlawed for yourself. He can lie without flinching. He can make promises he has no intention of keeping. He can claim credit for your work while looking you straight in the eye. He isn't smarter than you. He just has a larger toolkit. Think about the last time you were passed over for a promotion or a lead role. You had the data. You had the right plan. But the person who got the job was the one who spent their time flattering the boss, undermining their rivals with concerned whispers and exaggerating their results. You call that dirty. You call it unfair. You tell yourself that you are better than that. That pride is your leash. By refusing to play the game, you aren't being noble. You are being a victim. You are allowing yourself to be ruled by people who are less competent than you, simply because you are too afraid to get your hands dirty. You are basically saying, I would rather be right and powerless than imperfect and influential. Machiavelli would call that cowardice, not virtue. He understood that power is a zero-sum game. If you don't take it, someone else will. And that someone else is usually the person who doesn't care about the rules you're so busy following. Look at your workplace. You see the psychopathic high achiever, the one who is charming to the executives and a monster to their subordinates. They aren't succeeding despite their lack of empathy. They are succeeding because of it. Their lack of empathy allows them to fire people, cut costs and pivot strategies without the emotional static that keeps you up at night. While you are paralyzed by the human cost of a decision, they are calculating the profit. They aren't smarter than you, they are just colder. You are currently being outpaced by the shame gap. Most people, especially intelligent people, have a high cringe response. You are afraid of looking stupid, sounding arrogant, or being caught in a lie. The fool has no such fear. He is bold enough to be wrong at the top of his lungs. He is shameless enough to ask for things he hasn't earned. Because he has no shame, he has no friction. He moves through the world at a higher velocity because he isn't stopping to check his moral compass every 5 minutes. You think your fairness is a shield, but it's actually a target. The people in power know exactly how to manipulate you because they know you will always try to do the right thing. They use your guilt to make you work overtime. They use your loyalty to keep you from leaving. They use your honesty to get you to expose your own vulnerabilities. You are being weaponized against yourself by people who don't even share your vocabulary. Stop waiting for justice to show up. There is no cosmic referee who is going to blow a whistle and give you the promotion because you were the nicest person in the real world. Justice is just the name the winner gives to his victory. If the fool wins, he gets to write the history. He gets to decide what was right and what was wrong. While you are standing in the ruins of your career holding your principles, he is building a legacy on your silence. You have been trained to be a good subject, not a prince. You've been taught that if you keep your head down and play by the rules, you will be taken care of. That is a lie told by the people at the top to ensure that the people at the bottom don't revolt. It is strategic morality. The people ruling you don't follow the rules they preach to you. They want you to be honest so they can deceive you. They want you to be fair so they can exploit you. This isn't a cynical take, it's a forensic one. If you look at the most successful people in any field, politics, tech, finance, they all share a common trait, the ability to decouple their actions from their emotions. They don't take things personally, and they don't act morally unless it is strategically advantageous to do so. They treat morality as a costume, not a cage. You are trapped in the cage. You think that by being transparent, you are building trust. In reality, you are just giving your enemies the map to your weaknesses. You think that by admitting your mistakes, you are showing integrity. In reality, you are just handing the fool the ammunition he needs to shoot you down. It's time to stop being intellectually honest and start being strategically effective. You have to realize that the world you live in wasn't built for the saint. It was built for the survivor. If you want to change the system, you first have to conquer it. And you cannot conquer a system of wolves while you are still trying to be the most virtuous sheep in the flock. Your intelligence has made you arrogant in your goodness. You think that because you are right, the universe owes you a win. The universe owes you nothing. Power is taken, never given. And the people taking it from you are the ones who were bold enough to cross the lines you were too afraid to even touch. The pressure is peaking. You are realizing that your ethics have been the greatest obstacle to your ambition. You are seeing that the fool isn't winning because he's lucky. He's winning because he's playing a game you refuse to acknowledge. We are moving into the final movement. We are going to show you how to break the moral leash and start playing the game on your own terms. We are going to look at the end game of the fool, why their empires eventually collapse, and how you can be the one standing in the wreckage when it does. You are currently standing at the edge of a dying empire. You've watched the fool climb the ladder. You've seen the incompetent seize the throne, and you've felt the weight of your own moral handicap dragging you down. But there is one final brutal truth you need to understand before you can walk away. The fool's power is a hollow shell, and his greatest strength, his absolute certainty, is also the fuse that will eventually blow his world apart. Machiavelli knew that while a fool can seize power through chaos and appearance, he cannot maintain it through a crisis he doesn't understand. Because the fool surrounds himself with mirror men and flatterers, he eventually loses touch with reality. He creates a feedback vacuum where no one tells him the truth because they are too afraid of his ego or too invested in his stupidity. He begins to believe his own vision, even when the data says the ship is sinking. This is where your intelligence finally becomes your weapon. While the fool is busy celebrating his unearned victory, you must be busy preparing for his inevitable collapse. The history of power is not a straight line of progress. It is a cycle of high-status fools rising to the top, blinding themselves with their own arrogance, and then falling into the abyss they were too stupid to see. When that collapse happens, the world doesn't look for another certain idiot. It looks for the quiet expert who survived the storm. You are being trained right now in the shadows. Every time you are ignored, every time you are sidelined, and every time you are forced to watch a fool make a mistake, you are gathering intelligence. You are seeing the glitches in the system. You are learning the rules of a game the fool thinks he's already won. The audit is complete. You now see the world for what it is, a theater of appearances where the capable are the stagehands and the fools are the actors. But the theater only stands as long as the stagehands keep working. The moment you stop playing the role of the good servant and start playing the role of the silent strategist, the power dynamic shifts. If this deep dive into the dark mechanics of power has shifted your perspective, then align yourself with this movement, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. This isn't a favor, it's a signal that you are done being a spectator in a world that was designed to be mastered. We are building a community of individuals who refuse to be ruled by the vulgar crowd and the fools they follow. For those who are ready to stop watching from the sidelines and start developing real leverage, join the membership. This is the inner circle. It is a space for people who want the insights and strategies that are too dangerous for the general public. While the masses are distracted by the next loud visionary, the members are learning the surgical precision required to navigate the rot. Not joining is a choice to stay outside in the cold, while others move into the room where the real decisions are made. The door is open, but it won't stay that way forever. Thank you for staying until the end. Most people don't have the discipline to look at the world this closely. You've earned this awareness. You've sat through the pressure and the exposure, and you've come out the other side with a map of the abyss. Don't let this knowledge make you cynical. Let it make you dangerous. The world belongs to the fools only because the brilliant are too afraid to act. The next time you look at that person in power and ask, how did they get there? Remember the Machiavellian law. They got there because they were bold enough to take it. Now go and do the same. I will see you in the next video. There are 7 specific, dangerous places that will destroy your future if you don't walk away from them immediately. Most men spend their entire lives trapped in these environments, wondering why they never made it. They are blind to the fact that the very rooms they feel safe in are the ones that are killing them. The most dangerous people in your life don't carry knives, they carry friendship. Machiavelli warned that a man's ruin rarely comes from his enemies. It comes from the places he feels most comfortable. You think you're hanging out. You think you're networking. You think you're just catching up with old friends. You're wrong. You are walking into a social minefield every single day, and you don't even see the tripwires. Machiavelli understood that the fastest way to destroy a man isn't to attack him. It's to put him in a place where his ambition goes to sleep. There are certain rooms, certain circles, and certain conversations that are designed to keep you small, keep you broke, and keep you weak. Most men walk right into these traps with a smile on their face, wondering why their life feels like it's stuck in the mud. Think about the last time you sat in a circle of friends and vented about your struggles. You felt a sense of relief, didn't you? That wasn't peace. That was the smell of your power leaving your body. You didn't get a solution, you got a sedative. You traded your dominance for a moment of sympathy, and everyone in that room saw your price. In this world, there are 7 zones of death that will strip you of your power, leak your secrets to your enemies, and turn your iron will into soft glass. If you are in one of these circles right now, you aren't relaxing, you are being harvested. Your energy is being drained, your edge is being blunted, and the people you call friends are the ones holding the knife. Today, I am exposing these 7 dangerous places. I'm going to show you why the shoulder to cry on is actually a knife in your back, and why being the big fish in your current pond is a slow-motion suicide. We are starting with the most addictive trap of all, the place where most men go to die before they are even buried. If you value your future, do not look away. The first place you must burn to the ground is this. 1. The sympathy circle. You might know it as the group chat, where everyone complains about their boss, the bar where you meet to talk about how unfair the world is, or the dinner table where you vent about your struggling business. This is the most addictive and destructive place a man can inhabit.
Thank you
It
very
is a
much.
circle where the
Prisciata
primary
Gottamo.
currency is shared trauma, complaints,
Fuck
and
off.
excuses. Think about your Friday nights. Think about that group chat you check every morning. What is the topic of conversation? Is it about expansion? Is it about strategy? Or is it a collective session of venting about how the world is unfair, how the boss is a jerk, or how the economy is rigged? You think you are finding comfort here. You think you are getting things off your chest. But Machiavelli understood something you don't. Pity is a drug, and like any drug, it feels good while it's killing you. Every time you open your mouth to complain to this circle, you are leaking power. You are showing everyone in the room exactly where you are weak, where you are hurting, and where you are vulnerable. You think they are listening to help you? They aren't. They are listening to feel better about their own failures. When you tell a friend about your struggle and they nod and say, "I know, man, it's tough out there," they aren't supporting you. They are validating your mediocrity. They are giving you permission to stay exactly where you are. They want you to stay in the dirt with them, because if you ever actually pulled yourself out and succeeded, your existence would become a constant reminder of their own cowardice. In the house of pity, no one wants to see a winner. They want to see a fellow victim who makes their own lack of effort feel justified. Look at the faces in that circle. They aren't the faces of hunters. They are the faces of a herd huddled together for warmth, while the wolves circle outside. Every time you participate in this venting, you are training your brain to seek pity points instead of power. You are learning to value the relief of being heard over the results of being respected. A man who is comfortable being pitied can never be feared, and a man who is not feared will never be truly sovereign. The danger of this place is that it feels moral. It feels human. We are told that being vulnerable is a strength. That is a lie manufactured by people who want to keep you manageable. In the world of power, vulnerability is a map for your enemies. In the house of pity, you are handing that map out for free. You are telling everyone around you, "Here is how you can break me. Here is what I'm afraid of. Here is why I'm not moving forward." You have to realize that every conversation you have is either a negotiation or an admission of defeat. If you aren't talking about how to gain leverage, you are likely admitting that you have none. When you sit in this circle and recount your losses, you are cementing your status as a loser. You are teaching your social circle to view you as a liability. They might smile, they might offer a shoulder, but they are internally categorizing you as someone who is beneath them. They are enjoying the charity of their own attention. This environment blunts your edge. It turns your iron will into soft glass. You start to think that "at least I have my friends" is a valid substitute for "I have achieved my goals." It isn't. Your friends in this circle will be the first ones to disappear when you actually need something that requires effort on their part. They are only there for the shared misery. The sympathy circle is a graveyard for ambition. It is where men go to bury their dreams under a pile of mutual understanding. If you stay here, you will die a quiet, comfortable death, surrounded by people who will weep at your funeral because they're glad it's you in the box and not them. You are being harvested for your attention and your shared defeat. If you want to survive, you must realize that you don't need a shoulder to cry on. You need a strategy to win. You don't need understanding, you need results. The relief you feel when you vent is actually the feeling of your drive escaping your body. It is the sound of your competitive spirit being smothered by a pillow. Walk away from the venting sessions. Leave the group chats that focus on what's wrong instead of what's next. Stop looking for people who get it and start looking for people who do it. The house of pity is warm, it's inviting, and it's a death trap. Every second you spend there is a second you are giving the vultures permission to keep circling. This is the first gate. It's the easiest trap to fall into because it feels like home. But if you don't have the stomach to leave the people who comfort you in your failure, you will never have the strength to stand among the people who challenge you to win. You are being domesticated by your own social circle. You are becoming a house pet in a world that requires a wolf. Break the circle. Kill the need for pity. Realize that the silence of your struggle is the foundation of your future strength. If you stay in the house of pity, you are already buried. The only question is how much more dirt you're going to let them throw on top of you before you finally stop breathing. The sympathy circle is just the beginning. It's the place that kills your spirit. But the next two locations, they don't just kill your spirit, they steal your identity. They make you believe you're winning while you're actually being used as a prop for someone else's ego. We are moving deeper into the killing fields. If you thought the House of Pity was dangerous, you aren't ready for the table of unearned respect. You've escaped the warmth of the herd, but now you're walking into something far more deceptive. Most men spend their lives chasing a seat at a high-status table, thinking that proximity to power is the same thing as possessing it. This brings us to the second killing field. 2. The table of unearned respect. You've finally made it. You're in the room with the movers, the shakers, and the men you used to watch from a distance. You're sitting at a table where the wine costs more than your monthly rent, and for the first time in your life, you feel like you belong. They are being polite. They are laughing at your jokes. They are asking for your opinion on things that don't matter. You feel a surge of pride, thinking you've skipped the line and found a shortcut to the top. But Machiavelli would look at you and see a fool. You are currently standing in one of the most lethal psychological traps ever devised. The table of unearned respect. Think about the last time you were invited somewhere exclusive. Maybe it was a high-level networking event, a VIP section, or a dinner with men who are 5 levels above you. You felt a rush of pride. You felt like you had finally arrived. You sat there nodding along, laughing at their jokes, and feeling like one of the boys, but Machiavelli would look at you and see a mascot. This is the table of unearned respect. You are in the room, but you aren't a player. You are being civilized and domesticated by men who don't see you as a peer, but as a spectator. They like having you there because your presence validates their status. You are the nice guy they keep around to feel benevolent. But make no mistake, the moment the check comes, or a real decision needs to be made, you will realize you have zero leverage. The danger here is that this place kills your hunger. It gives you the illusion of success without any of the substance. You start to dress like them, talk like them, and act like them, but your bank account and your actual influence haven't moved an inch. You become a parasite of prestige. You are so busy enjoying the unearned respect of being in the room that you stop doing the brutal work required to actually own the room. You are being used as a prop for their egos, and while you're busy feeling honored, they are busy making sure you stay exactly where you are, one step behind. But there is a trap that is even more seductive, because it feeds your ego instead of your insecurity. 3. This is the echo chamber of low-level winners. This is the environment where you are the big fish in a small, stagnant pond. You are the most successful guy in your high school friend group. You're the smartest guy in your local office. You're the one everyone comes to for advice, because compared to them, you're killing it. You feel like a king, You feel untouchable. This is the most dangerous form of security. Machiavelli warned that this is where princes go to die. When your ego is fed by people who are beneath you, you stop evolving. You stop sharpening your blade because there's nothing left to cut. You start to believe your own hype. You look around the room and see people looking up at you, and you think, I've made it. But making it in a room full of losers is just a slower way to fail. The people in this echo chamber don't challenge you, they applaud you. They don't push you to grow, they tell you how great you already are. Why? Because as long as you stay at the top of their small pond, they have a successful friend they can brag about. But the second you try to jump into a bigger ocean, the second you try to compete with real predators, you will realize how soft you've become. If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. You are currently in a place that is rotting your ambition from the inside out. You have traded the discomfort of growth for the comfort of being worshipped by the mediocre. You are winning by a standard that doesn't matter. While you're enjoying the view from the top of your small hill, the men in the real mountains are looking down at you and laughing. These two places, the table where you're a mascot and the pond where you're a king, are designed to make you stay still. They use your own ego as a leash. One makes you a servant to the powerful, and the other makes you a prisoner of the weak. In both scenarios, you are not sovereign. You are a character in someone else's story. You have to be willing to be the nobody in a room full of giants, rather than the hero in a room full of children. You have to be willing to give up the fake respect of the high-status table and the hollow applause of the low-level winners. If you don't, you will spend the rest of your life as a local legend or a VIP spectator, never realizing that you were actually a casualty of your own need for approval. The walls of these traps are made of golden praise, but they are still walls. And as we move forward, the traps stop being about your ego and start being about your survival. We are moving toward the vampires of your life, the environments that don't just stall your progress, but actively bleed you dry. 4. The sunken cost relationship, the dead weight. You are currently pouring your life's blood into a ghost. You are staying in a room, a business, or a relationship that died 3 years ago, and the only reason you haven't left is because of how much you've already lost. This is the sunken cost relationship, and it is a psychological black hole. Machiavelli observed that most men are destroyed not by a single catastrophic mistake, but by their inability to cut their losses. You tell yourself that you're being loyal. You tell yourself that you're a fighter who doesn't give up. But there is a very fine line between perseverance and slow-motion suicide. In this place, you aren't fighting for a future. You are mourning a past. You are staying with a partner who disrespects your vision, or a business partner who drains your resources, or a social circle that demands your constant attention but offers no leverage. Why do you stay? Because your ego cannot handle the fact that the last 5 years were a waste. You feel that if you walk away now, you are admitting defeat. So you double down. You spend another year trying to fix something that is fundamentally broken. You try to communicate with people who don't speak your language. You try to rebuild on a foundation of sand. Every hour you spend in this environment is an hour you are stealing from the man you are supposed to become. Understand this. The time you have already spent is gone. It is a spent currency. It has no value in the present moment. The only question that matters is whether the next hour is going to yield a return. If the answer is no, and you stay anyway, you are no longer a strategist. You are a victim. You are standing in a burning building because you're upset about how much you spent on the furniture. This place is a vampire for your sovereign mask. It forces you to be reactive. It keeps you in a state of constant emotional repair. You cannot maintain a cold, predatory focus on your empire when you are constantly leaking energy into a sunken cost. Power requires the ability to be ruthless with your own history. You must be able to look at a 5-year investment, realize it's a dead end, and walk away without looking back. If you cannot do that, you are not in control of your life. Your past is. The world is full of men who are holding on to things that are dragging them to the bottom of the ocean. They are afraid of the void, the silence that comes after you cut the cord. They would rather be in a room full of conflict and stagnation than be alone in a room full of potential. But it is only in that void that the sovereign is born. You must be willing to burn the bridge while you're still standing on it, if that bridge leads to a graveyard. 5. The stage of false status. The debt trap. This leads us directly into the most visible trap of the modern age, the stage of false status. This is the place where you perform a life you haven't earned for people who don't actually like you. It is the social circle that requires a specific car, a specific watch, and a specific lifestyle to remain a member. This is not a social outlet, it is a debt trap. You are buying the appearance of power at the absolute cost of the substance of power. Machiavelli warned that a prince who spends lavishly to maintain an image eventually exhausts his resources and must become predatory toward his own people to survive. In your life, that predator is your debt, and your people are your future years of freedom. When you enter this place, you are a slave wearing a gold-plated chain. You are terrified of being found out. You are terrified that if you stop spending, stop performing, and stop showing off, you will lose your seat at the table. And you're right, you will, because that table is built on sand. The people there don't respect you, they respect the shadow you're casting. The moment you stop feeding the light, the shadow disappears, and so do they. In this environment, your sovereign mask is a fake. It's not a tool for control, it's a mask for your insecurity. You are trading your liquid capital, the very thing you need to build real, unshakable power, for temporary social validation. You are sacrificing your long-term leverage for a short-term vibe. This is a losing trade every single time. Think about the psychological pressure of this place. You can't be honest about your struggles because that would break the illusion. You can't take risks because you're one bad month away from the repo man taking your status away. You are trapped in a cycle of maintenance. You aren't building an empire, you're managing a stage set. A real man of power would rather live in a basement with $1 million in leverage than in a mansion with $1 million in debt. The stage of false status kills your ability to take a hit because you are so over-leveraged for the sake of your image. Any minor setback becomes a catastrophe. You become desperate. You start making weak moves. You start begging for opportunities instead of commanding them. You become the very thing we told you to never appear as desperate. You have to learn the art of the clean break. You have to be willing to look at a decade of your life and say, that was a lesson, not a life sentence, and walk away without a single backward glance. The void you are so afraid of, the loneliness that comes after leaving, is actually the only place where true growth can happen. It is the clearing in the forest where you can finally see the sky, but you will never reach that clearing as long as you are clinging to a rotting tree. This is the place where your sovereign mask is tested the most. It's easy to be cold to an enemy. It's incredibly difficult to be cold to a memory. But if that memory is currently standing in the way of your future, it must be executed. You cannot build a new empire on top of a crumbling foundation. You must have the stomach to raise it to the ground. Most men will watch this and think of one specific person or one specific group. They will feel a pang of guilt or a rush of excuses. If that's you, then you are currently standing in the trap. You are currently being drained of your potential. You are currently choosing a slow, agonizing social death over a quick surgical exit. In the game of power, the only thing worse than a mistake is a mistake you refuse to correct. Walk away from the dead weight, not tomorrow, not after one last talk, now. The place you are keeping for them is the very thing preventing the place you want for yourself from existing. We have handled the weight of the past. Now we must handle the weight of the image. The next two places are where your ego takes the wheel and drives you straight into a ditch of debt and irrelevance. We are moving into the stage of false status and the arena of the middle ground. If you thought your heart was the problem, wait until you see what your pride is doing to your bank account. 5. The stage of false status, the debt trap. You are currently performing a play for an audience that doesn't even like you. This is the fifth dangerous place, the stage of false status. It is a social environment that functions like a high-interest loan on your soul. You know this place. It's the VIP section you can't afford, the designer clothing you bought to look the part while your bank account is screaming, and the social circles that require a high entry fee just to be seen with people who are just as broke and desperate as you are. Machiavelli understood that the appearance of power is a tool, but only if it is backed by the substance of power. When you spend money you haven't earned to impress people you haven't conquered, you aren't a prince, you are a court jester. You are standing in a room built of cardboard and gold leaf, terrified that a single breeze of reality will blow the whole thing down. This place is a trap because it forces you into a state of permanent defensive performance. You cannot take risks, you cannot be honest about your situation, and you cannot pivot your strategy because you are too busy maintaining the image of success. The harsh truth is that looking rich is the fastest way to stay poor. In this place, your status is tied to your consumption rather than your production. You are being harvested by the system and by your peers. They want you to keep spending because your debt makes them feel superior. Every time you buy a round of drinks you shouldn't have, or upgrade a car to match the circle, you are handing over your leverage. You are trading your future freedom for a temporary seat at a table of pretenders. Machiavelli warned that a man who lives beyond his means is eventually forced to become predatory or pathetic. On the stage of false status, you are both. You are a slave wearing a gold-plated chain, and the worst part is, you're the one who paid for the lock. 6. The arena of the middle ground, the neutral zone. If you survived the debt trap, you likely ran into the most deceptive place of all, the arena of the middle ground. This is the place where you try to stay neutral during a conflict, the meeting where you try to make everyone happy, and the social circle where you refuse to take a side to avoid being the bad guy. You think you're being tactical, you think you're being the bigger man, you think you're keeping your options open. You're wrong. In the world of power, the middle ground is the most dangerous place to stand because it's where all the crossfire lands. Machiavelli was brutal on this point. He stated that neutrality is the refuge of the weak. When you refuse to take a side, you lose the respect of the winner and the trust of the loser. You end up alone with no allies and a reputation for being a fence-sitter who cannot be trusted when the pressure is on. Think about your daily interactions. How many times have you suppressed your true opinion just to keep the peace? How many times have you stayed friends with two people who are at war with each other, thinking you can mediate? You aren't mediating, you're becoming a target for both. By standing in the middle, you are signaling that you have no core, no convictions, and no skin in the game. You are a ghost in a room full of soldiers. The arena of the middle ground is where good men go to be forgotten. It feels safe because you aren't fighting, but you're actually dying of 1,000 small cuts. You are bypassed for promotions, left out of the real inner circles, and ignored when the high-stakes decisions are being made. Why? Because no one knows where you stand. And if no one knows where you stand, they can't rely on you, and they certainly won't fear you. You have created a place for yourself that is defined by your absence of character. You are being harvested for your compliance. The people on the extremes use you as a buffer, and when they are done with you, they will both discard you. To be sovereign, you must be willing to be polarizing. You must be willing to walk out of the neutral zone and plant your flag. It is far better to be hated by half the room and respected by the other half than to be vaguely liked by everyone while being taken seriously by no one. We have stripped away the illusions of status and the safety of neutrality. We have exposed the traps that eat your money and the traps that eat your reputation. Now we are approaching the final, most lethal gate. It is the place that knows your name, your history, and your deepest insecurities. It is the place that will try to kill the king before he can even put on the crown. We are going back to the beginning to ensure there is no going back. 7. The ghost of your hometown. The childhood shadow. You have survived the social killing fields and the traps of your own ego. But now you face the final gate. This is the place that knows your name, your history, and every insecurity you've ever tried.
Thank you.